Rim.
And welcome to our first edition of Gopher Basketball Weekly on this Wednesday as we are ready to rock and roll here. We have been Tuesday the first handful of weeks. We now shift to our Wednesday schedule for the next 5 or 6 weeks. Yes, we'll have a Tuesday show later on, but Wednesday, Guardsy, for the next few weeks.
Just send me the email, man.
Yeah.
Let me know when I need to be here.
Yeah, and the nice thing is today we're normally set up in the basketball practice facility, but with Gopher Michigan tomorrow night, we are here at Williams Arena in the media room with the head coach, Ben Johnson. Coach, good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
All right, so you had a weekend trip, Monday night, a tough, hard game, day off, I assume, yesterday. So how's everything kind of piecing together here as you get ready for the Wolverines, a pretty good ball club tomorrow night?
Yeah, really good team. Day off yesterday from the guys, and we'll get back to practice. Obviously today. Yesterday's walkthrough, again, it was, just getting guys kind of caught up to date, reflecting on the previous game and talking a little bit about just kind of the skeletons of the Michigan game plan. And today, we'll obviously implement that and go pretty hard and have a normal practice. But really, really talented team, playing some good basketball, can really score. We've got a lot of, high-level guys, octane-wise offensively. So we got to do a great job, defending the basketball and having a good defensive game plan.
What were your takeaways from the Maryland game?
Again, kind of a similar story on repeat a little bit. You play good enough to have an opportunity to win on the road against a team that just came off a big win from UCLA that's been playing good. And you're, in position. And then again, it's something kind of different that shows up. And that's kind of been the tricky part this year with this team is you can't necessarily finger point. All right, our issue is transition defense, or our issue is just offensively, or man, our defensive scheme. It's, in the beginning of the year it was, our shooting,
right,
and whether it was 3-point or from the line. When you go in that game, you shoot. I think we took 23 attempts. You shoot over 80%. You make 8 threes. You shoot over 80% from 3. You got 3 guys in double figures, and then it was, fouls became an issue. You have 3 guys with 4 fouls, and that's tough. We talked about turnovers. We did a great job versus their pressure. Great job. Don't have any turnovers versus the pressure. And then a team that averages, around 10, right at 10, uncharacteristically has 16, and it's not versus the press. It's more self-induced turnovers, whether that was just simple travels, whether that was just being casual with the basketball or trying to force the issue. But those are possessions you can't get back. And in a 2-possession game, it's so valuable. So, being able to show guys that we've got to be consistent, and we've got to now get to a point where the consistency leads to really good, stable basketball. And it's not like one game it's here and next game it's here. It's like now we should hopefully be comfortable and capable free throw shooters. So can we make that a consistent thing? When we take good threes, we make them. Can we make that a consistent thing? I think our turnovers have been pretty consistent, so we can't have the outlier. Guys now are more confident, so can we make multiple double-figure scores a consistent thing? That way you can start minimizing and really getting over the hump when you become that consistent team.
Does it feel a little bit like whack-a-mole? Like with because you mentioned the shooting. I haven't talked to you since the Ohio State game. Like that was a game where shots are falling, right? And that was such a big issue in November and December. You feel like shots are going to fall at that clip. That's a game you're going to win because of all the other things, but then just other things just pop up. That's got to be tough on you, obviously tough on the guys as well.
Yeah, and that's the, when you're trying to give, you always want to give guys answers. Here's where we're at, fellas, and here's why. Or this is why the outcome is this. And when it's like a moving goalpost and they can't, you can't just strictly pinpoint it, you don't want it to seem overwhelming to guys to feel like, oh my gosh, any given night it could be any of these 6 things. And that's why we got to get to consistency. All right, what can we hone in on and be a staple when we know, all right, we're definitely taking care of the ball. We're definitely going to be confident from the line, and we know we're capable shooters if we take good ones. All right, we've got that locked in. Now let's focus in on, all right, just offensive, getting good shots, keeping our assists up, defensively, our scheme. All of those things, factor in. And I think the confidence piece is getting there. I think, guys are now understanding. It's taken obviously a lot longer. So now it's like being gritty with the details of everything else to be consistent.
Yeah, and from that standpoint, on the I thought you outplayed Maryland more minutes than they outplayed you the other night, right? It just happened to be you're up 7 early second half, and then this 19-6 run. I don't know what that covered. I'm going to guess around 4, maybe a 4 to, you would know more, but maybe a 4 to 5 minute stretch. And in that little bit of stretch, it kind of failed on both ends, right? I mean, you couldn't make a basket, and then you couldn't stop them for a minute. When the rest of the game, as you mentioned, you shoot the ball very well, you stop them pretty well, and then there was just that little stretch, and all of a sudden you're up 7, and the next thing you know, you're down 6, and trying to grind back into it.
Yeah, the hardest issue we have that is reoccurring is I call them like catastrophic things. So it could be a catastrophic turnover, meaning your turnover leads to a direct score. And we had a couple instances where, all right, man, I think in the second half we were 8 for 19 of shots 5 feet and in. So, we had an instance where, all right, great drive, you're at the rim, we missed the bunny, maybe we missed the putback. All right. But now we can't get beat in transition for a score. So now instead of being able to stretch a lead, I think at that time, we're able to stretch it past a one-possession game. Now all of a sudden they keep it a one-possession game. And then the momentum gets flipped. So it's those. And I feel like with this team, that's what's hurt us more than anything. It's the loud mistakes that lead to momentum plays for the other team and obviously stop us from stretching a lead that we potentially have. And it's so hard. Momentum is a real thing, especially on the road. And when you're playing well and you're making good plays, it's like we got to find ways to capitalize that. If you're point blank, we got to find a way to score that. So now a 3-point lead turns to a 5-point lead. It's a 2-possession game. And they don't have the momentum to flip it at home. And that's what you saw in that stretch. And those are the things I just want our guys to continue to see the impact of a simple turnover or miss bunny or whatever that catastrophic event is. You can't get the double whammy where it hurts you offensively and then you also get punished defensively with a quick score.
Yeah. Go ahead. I was just going to say, and then to follow up, then later in the game, you're trying to fight back. Dawson gets his 4th, and then you get in a tough position because the queen on that pick and roll just became Dawson couldn't foul him, and then maybe Fox tries to guard him, and he's just outsized there a little bit. So they were getting buckets there on that pick and roll, and pretty much at that point put the game away.
Well, and they're obviously going to go after Dawson. So then you're thinking about the matchups. Can we flip the matchups? Right. Well, because of how they're playing pick and roll, they're just going to put the other guy on the ball screen. And they're still going to get what they want. And so then, you know what you're going to get. You want Dawson to still be aggressive, but he also has to be smart defensively. And then you're looking at time to score. It's like, okay, how long can we manage with him being out? And I think I put him in around the 6-minute mark, which I was scared to death to do. Yeah. But you're worried about, okay, especially this year, that 1 minute or 30-second run could flip it. And so you get him in and you're just hoping, all right, let's get him to at least the 2-minute mark. And then once it's 2 minutes, then you got to play. You got to go all out. Is there a way we can scheme it defensively? Can we overhelp? Can we do some things where we're not putting him in position to maybe get that? You try to maybe do offense, defense if you can, but then in college it's harder to do than you think. And so you just kind of leave him in there and you tell him you got to be smart, but you know they're going to dial up stuff to go right on him, especially when their best players are bigs. It's different if their best players are guard. Then you don't have to worry about it as much. Right. But when you got a guy like Queen that's just driving it, that makes it harder. So we were able to manage it and keep it in the game. And again, down the stretch, I liked our fight and liked our ability to, keep plugging away. The outcome obviously wasn't what we wanted.
Right. How much do you feel like you're fighting? Like you kind of just answered it there. I'm looking at just the last 4 games, even going back to Purdue. We're in Charlotte, and you guys are right there at the 10-minute mark, right? And then it's a couple of minutes, all of a sudden the game's out. Fighting your guys thinking, all right, we're in a good position, but in 90 seconds it could be completely flipped, right? Because that's what happens when you go through a stretch like this, right? It's almost like guys are almost waiting for it to happen, and then when it happens, oh no, it happened again. How much do you feel like you're fighting just that confidence piece?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. We've done some stuff in practice to try to maybe end a practice in a simulation of a certain scenario with time. You talk about it in game. You talk about it pre-game because it is a mental thing, and it's just like winning. Teams that won a lot, I don't care the scenario, they think they're going to find a way to win. They have that belief. Well, it also works the other way. And not necessarily that I don't think our guys don't believe. I don't think they sit there and wait about, oh, man, when is this going to fall apart? I just want them to not play to lose.
Right.
You know, that's a scenario where it's like, no, play to win. And that's what we talk about more. Or when we have a lead, it's a real thing. You know, we got to learn how to play with the lead and not have the lead and not try to extend it. You know, good teams look at that lead and they're not satisfied. They want to extend that 2, 3, 5, 7-point lead. And I want our thought process to be more greedy like that. But you got to play to win. I don't want our guys to get apprehensive or on their heels and play to lose. So in winning time, you got to have that mindset.
Well, and in extending leads, a lot of times when things are going, shots are falling, you're feeling good, that's when you have to be most dialed in, right? 'Cause sometimes you do get a little loose, not you specifically, just generally. Things are going well, we're moving the ball, everything's working. But it's just 1 or 2 little turnovers that instead of, like you say, up 5, up 6, all of a sudden you're in a tie game.
That or just getting away from what you're doing. If it was something offensively, it's taking a quick shot.
Exactly.
Or taking a contested shot. That's the same thing as a turnover, you know. Or defensively, it's, are you still making the second effort? Are you still in your ball screen coverage? Are you still in your help defense coverage? Or is there a little bit of that intensity that's gone and now you either get beat in your coverage or you give up an offensive rebound? You know, it's those things. And again, I think some of it is, you know, if you've had success, it's a lot easier to have the confidence or have the mindset or have the just ability to go and just figure it out. When you're trying to figure out how to win, you know, all that stuff, you know, it feels like it's going a million miles an hour. And so you just want to have that one chance where you break through and the guys can feel that and say, okay, here it is. And now there's backing. And that was what the hard part about Ohio State. You know, you do everything right in situations. And again, to no fault sometimes, it's just, if it doesn't go your way, then that's something else that you got to get over. Instead of lesson learned, now we gain confidence from that lesson. Now it's lesson learned. Did we learn from it? But you're learning from a loss, which is way different than the confidence of an ugly win.
You mentioned the idea of the guys believing they can win and not and trying to play to win. That after the game on Friday in Madison, it seemed like maybe that was what was happening there as well, right? You talked about you were going to have a quick locker room, and then guys started to talk, right? And then all of a sudden they're discussing ways that we got to avoid poor second halves or stretches like this. So I think the proof there is that these guys are hoping and trying to get to a point where they feel good about going to win.
Yeah, no, and I think our guys, you know, understand it. I mean, they get it. They understand it. They want it. Now it's applying. You just got to go. The hardest part is doing it. I talked about the hardest part in anything is closing the game or closing a series. That's the hardest thing to do because both teams want to win. And so having that closeout mentality, I do think sometimes the hurdle is you got to, as simple as it sounds, you got to be able to do it to have that mentality. Mm-hmm. It's hard. You can talk about it till you're blue in the face. You can give scenarios. You can watch film. But if you haven't been able to close it out, it's not tangible yet. So you got to have that moment where you break through and there is that small, okay, now it's tangible. Now we felt it. Now we know it. And so we're still searching for that. And, you know, I think obviously the way our guys responded, you know, in Maryland was case in proof that they still want it. I mean, there's no quit. There's no, we're not here for fighting. I mean, they believe and they believed days leading up to Maryland. They believed throughout the entire Maryland game. I could tell after the locker room, it was like, man, we firmly thought we had that. You know, the confidence was there. And so, again, now it's just us as a staff getting them over that final hump so that becomes tangible, and now they have things to fall back on.
All right, let's take our first break. We'll keep talking about that. We'll preview Michigan. That comes up tomorrow night. It's an early game, 6 o'clock. There are tickets available at gophersports.com. We also invite you to visit the University of Minnesota bookstore. There you discover the area's largest selection of U of M and Golden Gopher apparel and novelties for fans of all ages. From the latest fashions to traditional favorites, it's the University of Minnesota bookstore, your one-stop shop. And don't forget, every week here, we will be giving away a $25 gift card to the U of M bookstore. Visit the sign up to win page at gophersports.com. You can go to gophersports.com/U of M bookstores to enter. Stay with us. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you. Because Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And that's more than any other auto brand. From the versatile RAV4 to the Spelt Crown, the sleek Camry all-wheel drive, the Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive, the rugged Tacoma, the tenacious Tundra, and the spacious Grand Highlander with all-wheel drive to keep you and yours safe. Hey, you bring the action, we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/24.
Do you know how plastic bottles become shirts, shoes, or backpacks? What happens when your recyclables leave your curb? Can they really become something new? Visit WM.com to learn how WM helps turn your plastic bottles into everyday products, giving materials a second life. WM has the recycling infrastructure, innovation, and expertise to serve our Twin Cities community and care for our planet. The recycling process starts and ends with you. Visit WM.com to learn more.
You want the best for your child. So does M Health Fairview Masonic Children's Hospital. As the Twin Cities' longest-running, top-ranked children's hospital, many of the world's leading medical experts just happen to come with the most caring hearts. This combination of compassion and expertise is why Masonic Children's Hospital was once again recognized as the Twin Cities' top-ranked children's hospital by U.S. News and World Report. World-class, kid-focused care is available for all. Learn more at mhealthfairviewpeds.org.
Are you looking for concert or sports tickets? As a local Minnesota company, Ticket King is a company you can trust. They have seats to fit every budget and even offer parking or tailgating passes, and all tickets are guaranteed. Each order is personally attended to by one of our dedicated customer service representatives who are committed to providing you with a courteous, professional, quick, convenient experience. Visit us at TicketKingOnline.com or call us directly at 612-341-4131.
U of M looks good on you. Shop the largest selection of University of Minnesota clothing, accessories, and gifts at the University of Minnesota bookstores. Love to read? Check out their huge selection of books. Want competitive pricing on the latest technology, tech accessories, services, and repairs? U of M Bookstores has that too. Visit the U of M bookstores in Kaufman Memorial Union, the St. Paul Student Center, game day kiosks, or online at bookstores.umn.edu.
I'm Clay Geary, walk-on turned scholarship wide receiver for Gopher football.
And I'm Ben Utek, U of M alumni, Super Bowl champion, and Tony Dungy Uncommon Award winner. We understand championship culture, which is why we're part of the True North family of companies.
True North invests in only elite teams, like the champion team at Sunbelt Business Advisors. With more brokers, buyers, and offers, Sunbelt gets owners more than the market average.
Learn more about this True North company at sunbeltminnesota.com.
How much can you save when you shop Cub? Let's just say you might need a bigger cart. We've lowered prices so you save more. On Essential every day, it's easy to see the savings. Across the aisles, from pantry products to frozen foods to delicious dairy and more. Your family will love it, guaranteed, or your money back. Shop Cub and save today. My Cub, my way. See store for details.
The University of Minnesota teams and traditions are legendary. Our team at Strategic Wealth Designers are proud to be a partner of Minnesota Athletics. What an honor to be working together. When you're ready to discuss your financial future, call the team, the Golden Gophers Trust. We look forward to creating your winning strategy for retirement. Visit us at swdgroup.com today and go Gophers.
Playing the Minnesota Lottery is exciting, so here to tell you all about it is me. And to make it more exciting, I'll be using my movie trailer voice.
In a world where we all crave more play in our day, one woman's journey leads her to the convenience store. Coming this year, scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery, and you're gonna want to play because anything can happen when you say, I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
No matter who you are or what you do, there's a Ford vehicle that can help you own the day. Make life on the go feel like a breeze in the new Ford Explorer. Make tough tasks look easy with the powerful performance of a new built Ford Tough F-Series truck, the best-selling trucks in America for 48 years. Or take your adventures in the great outdoors to a whole new level with our built wild family of Ford Broncos. Whether it's for work or play, there's a Ford with a great deal waiting for you at your local Northland Ford dealers. Don't wait. Get behind the wheel of a new Ford today. based on calendar year total sales.
Welcome back. More with Gopher Basketball Weekly with head coach Ben Johnson. Mike Grimm and Justin Gard with you here. Wednesday for the next few weeks, the Gophers are on this stretch of schedule where Minnesota will play Tuesdays and Saturdays. So we have moved since it's a Tuesday game starting next week for several weeks, we started this week on the Wednesdays. And it's good to have Justin Gard back on the show, although, Coach, I think you and I talked, we thought the best two shows we've had all season were the last 2 weeks, right?
Clearly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
Hey, man, I'm fine with whatever you want to do. I'm just a team guy.
Well, we want you here.
I show up where I'm supposed to show up most of the time.
Yeah.
When I'm available.
We want you here. We just would like you to pick your game up a little bit, that's all.
I mean, I do the best I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're all waiting in about 12 minutes or so. You're going to have a very, very high level.
Oh, is that right?
Elite. Long contested too.
All right.
I hope.
We'll find out.
I hope. That's what we're counting on.
We'll find out.
That's what the listeners want, that's for sure. Coach, you talked about how the guys continue to believe and need to get going and want to get the win. Tough one tomorrow night, certainly with Michigan in town at 5-0 in the Big Ten. But the question I've got, too, is losing can wear on a team, right? So they are looking at the standings and they see their own name there, their own team. So how do you try to work them hard, keep them going without wrecking any kind of a semblance of the confidence you talk about? I mean, how much of a fine line is that, or is it not as hard as I'm trying to make it?
No, I think, through the course of the year, every team's going to accumulate losses. It obviously doesn't help when you don't start off with any wins and you're over. But, losses, no matter where they end up in the year, are losses.
Right.
And so you try to get guys to understand that. I think just like there's momentum one way, there's also, you just got to get a win, and then it could snowball. So it can flip really quickly. And then you look at, all right, the rest of the standings. It's not like the next team is at 4 and there's just a huge gap. So, sooner the better that you can win, you can shrink the gap. But this early, where we're not in the half point yet in conference play, I mean, the difference between even 2 games is a logjam still. And now all of a sudden, even with that second win, you're only maybe a game from even, the middle of the pack or the top tier, because it's so early. And so getting them to understand that's what it is, that it's not an astronomical disadvantage that we're in right now because it is early, but the urgency needs to be there. I think I'm more focused on that. Like, if the urgency's there and we continue to develop and get better, I think the wins will take care of themselves, hopefully in time. But the urgency needs to be there with where we're at.
Well, it seems like the urgency has been there right from the jump these last 3 or 4 games, right? You had a great start at Wisconsin. Obviously, Maryland, you're leading at the half. So the team's taking whatever's coming in on those prep days and applying it right away. It just has to be sustained for longer, right?
Yeah, again, it'd be one thing if you could say, oh, man, the start's the issue.
Right. Guys aren't ready.
Yeah, guys aren't ready. I mean, the worst start we had was Michigan State, and, around the 14-minute mark, it was 9-7. We got off to, I think it was 9-2 earlier, something like that. But around the 14-minute mark in the first half, it was quickly 9-7. So our starts have been good. I mean, we've been locked in, we've been focused, and that's been home and on the road. And it's really more that second half, especially game where it's either tied or we're up one or we've got a lead. It's being able to play with that, being able to play with that type of confidence, being able to play in winning time with your mindset of we're extending it, we're not satisfied. But some of that, just you've got to experience it to really firmly stamp that and to make that an identity. And again, with the new team, they can't even fall back on last year.
Right.
Only some of the guys can. And that's another hard piece is, you look at Michigan State or Purdue that doesn't have many portal guys. Well, in times of doubt, they can always reflect back on, well, the confidence of last year or coming together with the group that they had last year. If we had everybody back from the NIT team, it'd be way different. Those guys, it's a different feeling, it's a different vibe. Yeah, maybe there's not success this year, but they fall back on last year. They fall back on the identity of, hey, we did it last year. We know this is not who it is. You're not convincing because there's proof. Whereas this year with all these new pieces, you are there's a little bit of sell job of, no, this is who we are. Let's be that.
Grimm mentioned the meeting after the game on Friday at Wisconsin. So I think it was kind of unexpected that it went like that. So kind of give us your perspective on what you saw and what you heard.
No, I think I think sometimes those things get so overblown. I think in anybody that's involved in sports or any walk of life, with competitive people, if you're not doing well or playing to an ability, competitive people want to figure it out, and it was really nothing more than that. The only thing that I think it was a little bit different with this one is, it was our players were talking in a respectful, good way about, hey, we know we can do this, and they're just, they're formulating answers. Here's what we got to do, and I thought that was a good sign because it did. Again, it showed the belief of who they are, and now it's like, okay, we've proven we can be in these games. We've shown it over and over. Different opponents, again, home and away, different circumstances. We've proven it. All right, let's talk about what are we doing wrong? What do we need to improve on? What do we need to stand on? Because it's right there. And I think that was, for me to see and hear that was good, because it wasn't like they were asking me. And so it was more of them saying, hey, man, we all believe in this deal. I believe in you. You believe in me. We believe in we. Let's figure this out. Enough is enough. We all know we can do it. Like, let's go and do it. And I thought that energy and that vibe did carry to Maryland. That's why, you want it so bad for them, because everything else is there. Right. That it is there, and you just need to, like, that one little push, and then they're going to look back and say, you know what, there it is. And then now you can build on that.
What was your role kind of as that was all going on? Are you facilitating? Are you sitting back? Are you interjecting as you go, or was it all just kind of player led? Yeah, no, in those, it's when it's player led like that, you sit back and assert yourself if you're asked to. Otherwise, you're just observing. But I just got asked, a couple questions early just on that, like guidance, like, hey, you've done this before. You talk about this all the time. Let's break this down and talk about, like, the deeper meaning of that. And let's have some truths about, hey, you reference, extending lead. Like, let's do that. Dig deeper on that, that type of stuff. And I just think as any leader, when that goes on, you don't want to, if it's their moment, you don't want to be too much. But you got to be there for them if they're wanting answers and searching for answers with that leadership or with that guidance. And so, again, I think in most situations and walks of life, those are good things to have, because it shows that obviously guys care. They want to get down to the nitty gritty of, like, what's the next step of making this work? We know we've got it in us. We're that close. What is the next step? Let's figure this out. Well, and what heartens me about the whole thing is sometimes meetings are the opposite, right? I mean, it's like side eye. You're mad at this guy. You're mad at that guy. It seems like this was the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, because I think, again, they've seen what we're capable of doing. And I think with a new group, that is another thing that's hard. It's like with a new, older group, you only have so many different experiences with each other. And I think good teams, every good team or team that competes, you got to go through some stuff together. And so when they're still fairly new or still understanding games, or still understanding how do certain guys work in controversy, how do certain guys work when their back's up against it? What's this guy's response? What's his body language? Sometimes you got to talk some of that stuff out. Hey, man, I'm now comfortable enough to talk to you because I feel like we know each other well. We've been through enough battles where I can say, hey, consistently, this is good, this is bad. Hey, this is what you bring that's really positive, that gets me going, Or, hey, man, you're good at this, but, like, if you did this a little bit better, that could help everybody. It takes time with the new group for guys to understand who their teammates are, and be right. I think that's the thing. Like, it's one thing to, like, hey, I know you're this, this, and this, and the guy's really not that because you don't know him. Right. We don't want to be wrong. So sometimes it takes a while for, like, guys to understand, no, I know you now, man. We've been through it. I've known you for X amount of months, and we've competed enough where I know your game. I know how you can help. I know what you bring to the table. So because of that, I'm going to step in and say this. You're really good at this, man. We need more of this. And that's just, you hope that stuff happens early, but with the new team, you can't always dictate when guys are going to be able to have that confidence to lead and then to follow guys' leads that are in that room.
Grimmer, it's like when people are around us for the first time and we're, cussing each other out and screaming at each other. Hey, what's wrong with you guys?
They get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. This is how we operate. This is how it's worked for 14 years, 15 years.
We're totally comfortable screaming at each other.
We're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Don't feel bad about it.
We're comfortable being uncomfortable.
But it makes others a little like, whoa, what's wrong with those two?
I'm thinking of Ryan Burns, GopherIllustrated.com, most decidedly. Yeah,
and Ryan Tibbs, must be Ryan. Ryan Tibbetts also was.
Tibbs.
He had to leave a dinner at one point.
Yeah.
You and me going.
But we're good.
But then you look at that guy like, what's wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
Like, we're good. Like, you know? It's same thing even
We're like Parker and Dawson. Yeah. We've been together for 9 years.
Even with staffs, I think whether you watch pro sports or college sports and the media will zoom in because it's the controversial take of the head coach mad at the assistant or whatever it might be. They don't realize how much time you spend with these people.
Oh God, yeah.
And you're able to cross those lines. It's never personal in sports. Like the outside people, or if you haven't done it, you could look at sports and say, "Oh, that's barbaric," or "Man, how could they do that?"
Insane.
There's
that's
tension
counterproductive.
There. Not really.
Yeah.
Just,
for that moment, there was because it needed to be. But now we're good. Or maybe you needed that to get over a hurdle, or you don't know what led to that, or you don't know. Maybe it was an encouraging. The intensity of the moment made it look a certain way. But all of us in sports, you move on, right? Or you regroup and you talk about it after the game or at halftime. Or it's short-lived. Yeah. It's short-lived. But there's so much intensity that people that care, the emotion does come out,
No doubt about it. To get to that, to get to the win, you'd mentioned you get over that hump. There's proof now, right? There's a formula. There's hey, we can do this. And you look at the Big Ten, and I've believed this for a long time. There may be like Purdue last year, like they weren't going to go on a losing streak, right? They just were they might lose a game here or there. But most teams in that middle of the pack, if you can find your way in there, it's 1 or 2 games is going to put you in the upper, 1 or 2 games that may put you in the lower. And that group of teams in the middle, especially, really susceptible to that. Like Rutgers got their first win in a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 2 or 3 in a row. UCLA was the talk of the town for a minute, right? They beat Gonzaga, and everyone's thinking they're great. They win a Big Ten game. They lose 1. I think they've lost 4 straight now all of a sudden. So it goes that way, and it can flip. Like UCLA, if they win the next game, they might win 3 in a row. The Gophers get a win. Who knows where it goes? But why do you think that part of it is in this Big Ten where it's the margin of error is little, and all of a sudden the losing can take you one way, and one win can send you off into, a mini win streak that you hope becomes a big win streak?
Yeah, I think, winning is so fragile. Momentum is a real thing. And belief and confidence, self-confidence, team confidence is a real thing, especially when you're dealing with young people, on a big stage like the Big Ten, that's covered nationally, that has the pressures of what it has, that's the intensity level is at the highest. It is fragile. I mean, you even talk about UConn the beginning of the year. Yeah. They go to Maui and they lose 3. No one would have thought.
I thought Coach Hurley took that well.
Yeah, he seemed to handle it.
Yeah.
He took the high road.
You don't have to speak for him. I thought that really went well down there.
Yeah, to say he's never coming again. Other than that, it was great.
Yeah, it was good. Multiple texts, but whatever. Yeah.
It happens. Yeah. It happens. But that just shows you, like, no one's the exception to the rule. And so much goes into, a team and their confidence that sometimes the outside world doesn't see. You can lose pretty and you can win ugly. And there's a difference. So, you could have a game where man, we've won 2 in a row, but there's some ugly wins, and you can tell you're that close from all of a sudden that one loss, and you know that the way it's going, that one loss is going to turn into 2, 3, and 4. Whereas you could be winning, and all of a sudden now it's like, man, we are winning ugly, or we are barely getting by. And then that one time you lose, now you've won 5 in a row, but now you're worried because in those 5 wins, man, it wasn't good. And know that the confidence is kind of maybe there. You just happen to win those games. That's how fragile it is. And so that's why you got to always keep the belief, because it flips, especially in college, so quickly. Yeah. And timing is everything too when you're on a skid. When you get opponents and home games and just all of that goes into play a little bit, and it helps to build some confidence. So, timing and keeping the belief is important.
Those winning ugly, I mean, that part of that, you win 2 in a row, now you're in a meat grinder, and you win ugly because you feel good. And then but you're right, once once that ends, you feel like for 2 or 3 games in a row, you've won ugly. Like this thing, luck's going to run out.
Exactly.
It's just human nature. And then you lose that. Oh man, now we got another game Thursday. Poof, there's another one. Like Michigan State's 5-0. If you look at their schedule, I think the next game they lose, they'll. I'm not saying they're not going to win the Big Ten. Who knows? But that's how it works. Maryland, they were 0-3 or whatever it was, and now they've won 3 in a row. And the other night, at the end, I'm sure they felt good because they were on a little streak when it came to winning time, as you talked about. So I guess that's the point. Is now let's get to winning time here when the quickest you can, right?
No question.
All right, let's take a break. We've got the long contested 2. When we come back, stay with us. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Man. Welcome back. More with head coach Ben Johnson, Gopher Basketball Weekly, and Justin Gard, Mike Rim with you. We want to remind you can visit the University of Minnesota bookstore. There you'll discover the area's largest selection of U of M and Golden Gopher apparel and novelties for fans of all ages, from the latest fashions to traditional favorites. It's the University of Minnesota bookstore, your one-stop shop. You can visit online at bookstores.umn.edu. Minnesota and Michigan tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. We'll take air at 5:30 here on the Gopher Radio Network. Al Nolan and I will have the call. Tickets available at gophersports.com. And JG, it's time for the long contested 2.
Well, we kind of just joked about how Danny Hurley handled some things in Maui. I know Mick Cronin handled some things in an interesting way earlier in the week. I'm not asking you to comment on anything that they said or may have said, but I am curious, how often do you monitor or watch like clips of other coaches' press conferences, or just full press conferences, either in a scouting way, have somebody do that, or just even like, hey, this guy's going through a crisis, or this team's going through a crisis, or this team's going through good times, or here was a situation. I want to hear what the coaches say about it to kind of see how they go through different things.
Yeah, I watch them all the time. Probably one of the most things I watch on YouTube. For sure, before every game, I always watch the head coach's pregame. Probably normally like 2 days out that they do, just to see if, they're saying anything about how they played the last game that they need to correct or tighten up, or anything about us. But then, there's always guys in our league, guys that they say good stuff. I also like to do it, for guys that it's when things are easy, there's not a lot of you don't have to overthink it,
right?
when you're putting stuff together. So sometimes you listen to guys, maybe like a Bill Self when he's rolling, to figure out, okay, I know he's not going to be satisfied. So how does he formulate his message to the team and to the media when they've won 8 in a row, and to keep them on that pace? So maybe you listen to a guy like that to get some of that side of it when things are good. But then I think it's also important, to watch coaches, and how they react during tough stretches or during controversial things. I think it's like parenting. There's no rule book on how to coach if, knock on wood, something bad were to happen in a program. So it's always interesting and good to see just how different guys deliver a message, how different guys handle adversity, whatever that might look like with a player or with a team. So I love it. Something I've done for basically my whole career. Yeah. And it's any sport, football, basketball, primarily NBA. But I think it's fascinating just to see how different people respond and what their outlook is, and just how do they approach, whether it's a team or whether it's the media in general. I listened to Mike Tomlin's presser yesterday because you knew they were going to ask him some questions. And I just thought it was, I wanted to know, okay, how is he going to respond to these question? What's his demeanor? What's his body language? How long does he answer them? Is he short? Is it long? And then what was the feedback? How did he phrase it? I get into all that.
That was actually going to be my next question, because I thought I knew the answer, because you're a huge Tomlin guy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Tomlin guy too. And I think the brevity, like, he says so much without saying anything. Like yesterday, the question was about, there might be some teams interested in trading for you, and he basically said, save your time, right? And that was it. I liked somebody earlier in the season asked him some question. He goes, that's why I'm highly compensated.
Yeah.
Done. It's like, but that guy's a stud, right? There's a reason why he's been, a head coach for 18 years. So you've always kind of looked to him, haven't you?
Yeah, no, I have. I just think he's always got a really good message, and he's got a good way of, like you said, saying a lot but not saying too much. I think sometimes you can get yourself in trouble if you say too much and you lose emphasis, or you just now it gets sideways and the message gets lost. But he does a great job of like formulating his words to be pretty precise, but then everybody in the room knew exactly what he meant and he didn't have to elaborate. And you know, he's been doing it for a long time, and I think, again, guys in professional sports where you sometimes got to do a pregame and postgame.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. So you get so savvy at just answering questions and figuring out, all right, how can I answer this firmly without a follow-up? You know, and he's really good at that, of like, you can answer a question when there's no follow-up, where now you don't get baited into something you don't want to answer, or something you can eliminate, you know, the hard-hitting questions where now it's not, all right, I've got myself in this deal now, and I got to keep going. I don't know how to get myself out of it, right? Especially when things are bad. He does a great job of just that quick hit. There's no follow-up to it. And the people that ask it know, okay, I know how this is going, and he doesn't have to worry about how am I getting myself out of this answer.
Well, the best one he had this year was somebody asked him after, I think they had lost a game, you know, how do you keep this from spiraling or something like that? And he goes, I mean, it was a loss. Let's not be dramatic. Done.
Yeah.
Out.
That was it.
I love I think it was last year or 2 years when they asked him about the college question.
Yeah.
And he was like, there's no booster that has a checkbook big enough. And I never say never.
Right.
But never.
Right.
And I thought that was like, that was really good.
Well, and it's good to hear, too, I'm sure, for coaches to listen to him, and we'll make this Mike Tomlin fan line, but, I mean, the guy's a stud. And he said on, I think, Ryan Clark's podcast, he likes watching press conferences or hearing coaches, that, are complaining about their team or complaining about their players, because he goes, those guys I know I got. Because I think the phrase he used was something like they're not up to the challenge of coaching, or they're not interested in the challenge of coaching. They just want it to be somebody else's fault. And he's like, I'm never going to be that guy, and I know I can beat that guy because
don't resist coaching.
Don't resist coaching.
I actually got that quote in my office.
There we go.
Saw the podcast, and I put that quote in my office because it's so easy to do in a leadership role.
For sure.
When things aren't going right, it's like I'm blaming, or this person can't do it. They'll never figure it out. Why are we wasting our time? Instead of saying, no, I'm not going to resist coaching. I got to figure out a way to help them, and kind of flip that mind frame of, well, no, they can do it. We just need to do a different job of delivering the message, or we need to drill it more or drill it better. And you can't just, again, give the old ole and throw it on the player.
Right.
It's like, no, you can't resist coaching. That's part of what
to quote Tomlin again, it's why you're highly compensated.
That's why we're highly compensated.
That's why it works.
I do have a question on the flip side of that. Does there ever become a point where you believe you're giving, and I'm not saying specific to you, but just as a coach, you believe you're giving your team everything you've got? Like, we've seen it on occasion, like everyone's ripping Mick Cronin, right? But we don't know what the situation is behind the scenes. Maybe the team is a bunch of losers. Maybe he's just rattling their cage. We saw Rick Pitino last year basically throw his team under the bus, and they went on like a 5-game win streak.
You got to know your team.
He basically says, this is the worst team I've ever coached. There's no talent. All of a sudden, they win 5 in a row. So sometimes you need to rattle the cage. And
February 18th, the Gophers are at Pauley Pavilion.
There you go.
I just had to check the schedule.
Yeah. Mick, you're doing a hell of a job. Awesome. I have so much respect for you. He's actually one of the guys that I listen to every week.
Oh, he's interesting.
I love him.
Yep.
He's one of the best coaches.
That's my point. Coaches don't do stuff by accident. There was a reason he did that.
No, he is.
But we want to rip him for it. I'm like, forget it. Well, players might be. He needs to rattle their cage.
His players
Sometimes
might be losers. That's the quote of the show.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. He's got the best team in the country.
Story tradition.
Yeah, I think Mick is so smart, and he's been doing it for so long. To your point, he knows what he's doing. When you go up there, very rarely are you just freestyling it.
Right.
Because you have time, you've talked to your team, you've maybe had a little bit of time to decompress before that. Like, you've formulated, all right, and he knows this is going to get out. It wasn't like he said that and was like, man, that went viral. Like, he knew, right?
Boy, so maybe I shouldn't have said no. There was, I think, intentional.
There was some of that. There was definitely a message to that, without a doubt. And I think the other piece, too, is, okay, he expresses how he felt, gave his true opinion, whatever. The internet world is going to take it for what it is and run with it. And then if he does it differently and gives a one-word answer, then people are like, oh, well, he's a boring interview or he gives nothing. It's like, you can't have it both ways, right? The media can't be mad at a coach if like, oh, man, we get nothing out of him. He gives us nothing. He keeps everything tight to the vest. There's no life to him. There's no this and that. And then when a guy does express it, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. This
Threw his
guy,
team under the bus.
exactly. It's like
we always want honesty.
Yeah, you want honesty, but then that's a
but
quick
then
way.
when they're honest, and you don't like it,
it's a double-edged sword. It's a no-win sometimes.
It's crazy. And then he went and got kicked out of the next game. So
guarantee that was calculated. Guarantee it. The whole trip.
100. Well, he admitted it afterwards. He said he got kicked out on purpose. He's like, and he shook Kevin Willard's hand, and off he went. And we'll see. We'll see if it works, right? It might not work. It might not get that team going, but maybe it will.
Mick, I'm just telling you. God,
18.
I'm looking at
February 18.
Yeah.
Poly Pavilion, baby.
Yeah, Grimmer will be there.
You're my vote, Coach of the Year.
No question. No question. I'm defending the guy. He's been getting ripped for a week about
I just want his players now to hear this, and they're going to come to you now.
I just said maybe that's the case.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think he's real thrilled with this team right now, so he was rattling their cage. All right, we are way overdue for a break. We'll have about a minute when we come back. Stay with us. It's a Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you. Because Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And that's more than any other auto brand. From the versatile RAV4 to the Spelt Crown, the sleek Camry all-wheel drive, the Corolla Hybrid all-wheel drive, the rugged Tacoma, the tenacious Tundra, and the spacious Grand Highlander with all-wheel drive to keep you and yours safe. Hey, you bring the action, we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/24.
Midland Hills Country Club is well known as one of the finest golf clubs in the Twin Cities. The club has totally renovated its classic Seth Rayner design course back to its original design. Enjoy a meticulously maintained course and experience what Midland Hills Country Club has to offer. Midland Hills is conveniently located in Roseville, just 10 minutes from either downtown. A limited number of memberships are available. The club offers a great golfing experience and a comfortable social atmosphere. Visit midlandhillscc.org.
You depend on CenterPoint Energy to deliver energy for what matters most to you, your neighbors, and throughout the land of 10,000 lakes, so we can all make a better tomorrow. That's why we're investing in the latest technology to reduce emissions, offer rebates on qualifying energy-efficient natural gas equipment, and provide energy-saving programs that help save you money. Look ahead at centerpointenergy.com/futuremn.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring a friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. See Home Club for details.
Cummins, Michelle Train Traversy with Gopher Communications, Mike Grimm and Justin Gard with you. About a minute left here, Coach, as we got going on UCLA Basketball Weekly on the last segment. Michigan tomorrow night, they're ranked 20th, 5-0 in the Big Ten. Brand new coach, Dusty May. What can you tell us about what we'll see tomorrow from the Maize and Blue?
Yeah, high-powered team offensively, can really score it, have really, really good size at the 4 and the 5, and 2 7-footers. They're a pretty well-run unit. They can score in many ways, inside, out, in transition, off from three, off the drive. So it's going to be a really challenging defensive game because they just find ways. You just look up and when you watch film, and it's like they're at 80, they're at 85, they're at 90, they're at 95, and it just comes so easy. So we've got to make sure we're defensively really locked in.
All right, very good. We'll see you tomorrow night here at Williams Arena.
Sounds good.
All right. There he is, the head coach of the Golden Gophers. We want to thank him for his time. Thank you for listening as well. For Justin Gard and the head coach, Ben Johnson, I'm Mike Grimm. Al Nolan and I will talk to you tomorrow night. We'll take air at 5:30. It is a 6 o'clock pregame, Minnesota and Michigan. This has been Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
Hey, So what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, or you can't drive high. You can run, or you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
when the storm rolls in, my time to find a pet-friendly evacuation center will have run out.
The scorching heat wave will leave me powerless to cool my insulin.
I'll face a hurricane without meds. Now that's a tough pill to swallow.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
On the Gophers Sports Network from Learfield, this has been Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gophers Sports Network.